Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Delmar, and we have a very special guest with us today, Mr. Ruvain Kudan. Welcome, Ruvain, to the Jewish View.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Now, you have a very interesting story, as people could see on the screen, that you're a full-blown Hasid, ultra-Orthodox Jew, but you didn't start off that way, so let's how your transformation came about.
Okay, thanks, Rabbi Simon. I, brought up in a traditional Jewish home, conservative, affiliation. But in college, I went to the University of Buffalo, and there went to the Chabad house. Rabbi Garari, Rabbi Nassim Garari, and Rabbi Greenberg, Rabbi Heschel Greenberg were there, and as the head shluchim, and they, went to college in Buffalo, engineering degree, chemical engineering, and graduated in 1980. But in those 4 years, college, I became attracted to Judaism and specifically Chabad, and met my wife there. I met with Shana, my wife, and so then we. By the time we got married there in 1970.
It became a slow process. I mean, you say you just rolled over 4 years of college.
Right.
But, I mean, it was step by step.
It was step by step, gradual.
It's important for other people, I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's not just your story.
Right.
But just like, you don't have to take upon everything overnight. And, it's either black or white. It's a lot of times shades of gray, step by step by step.
Right.
That it takes time to really get into the whole Shabbos. It's hard for a person who doesn't keep 25 hours of Shabbos, and all of a sudden you're doing everything on Shabbos. And
exactly.
There's so much to being a Jew. It's all beautiful, but there is a lot of work to fill in. And then there's a lot of pages in the Siddur. Again, we talked about it once on our show. You don't have to say everything right at the beginning, so people feel overloaded. But like I say, step by step, a few prayers here, you get used to it, a few prayers there, a little more on Shabbos, a little more this, and eventually you grow and grow. But it's not a black or white, like you say, overnight I became
that is right.
Full-grown chassid.
That is right, that's exactly right. It was by a slow process, and little by little, first keep Shabbos, and then little by little, and even that little by little, and then you start keeping kosher. And that is true.
Did you get any yeshiva experience? Because that's important for a lot of people. They go, like you're saying, Chabad is Buffalo here, Albany, to make a difference. But they don't have that, that full experience of being in a yeshiva environment.
Right, that is true. So
because it means so much. It really does.
Yeah, I didn't really go very long to yeshiva. If I started in fall of '76 as a freshman in the University of Buffalo, so by the fall of 1978, we were going to get married, Shane and I, and so took this opportunity just before I was going to get married, and before my junior year in college, to go to the summer yeshiva of Hadar Torah and the Camp Shalom. It was during the summer, and so that was my formal yeshiva education, was that one summer in Camp Shalom. And then, but the rest was, my learning by osmosis, and through taking classes, including with you, Rabbi Simon, once we came to Albany, and Rabbi Ruben, and
others. I think that's an important point, because, a lot of people come back to Yitzchak, they're in, let's say it's not a yeshiva atmosphere, Buffalo is and Albany isn't, and they come and they say, well, I got it all. And then it's really a humbling, besides such a learning experience, but it's a humbling experience, because people are there, the same people like yourselves, and from college, and they're learning for a year, 2 years, 3 years, people getting rabbinical degrees, and I think that's an important part of growth also. People start thinking that, they do mitzvahs, they're holy. I mean, everybody is holy, or even without doing the mitzvahs, but just the idea that it's a very humbling experience to see other people. I mean, you went for the summer, but you saw people there, I'm sure, for years. And I think that's important for a lot of people to know.
Yeah, I think people were, you know, surprised that I was at the age of 20. I'm going to get this wrong, maybe, but at the age of 21, or not even 21. You know, but getting married. You're getting married, you know. They were surprised at that, but you know, that's what we taking. You know, I think it's important to people to know, you know, to take advice of your rabbis. You know, they know, you know, it's. And Rabbi Grari said, yeah, you guys should get married. You know, you're ready. If you're ready to get married, get married. You know, and still, I had 2 years left in school, but that yeshiva experience, you know, was important at that time. You know.
Well, again, social pressure or just social environment's important. You see people, I mean, again, I don't know the statistics, but it seems like about 30 years old, and now I'm ready to get serious and get married. And I mean, surely for a woman, her time bomb is ticking away of having children, and you do have a lot of children, and that ultimately is, with everything you say, is the biggest nachas, the biggest pleasure for a parent or an adult, and they're holding off having this pleasure. I mean, I know there's a lot of crying and diapering going along with it too. I'm not saying that, but on the other hand, ultimately it's the greatest pleasure that a person can have, and why should you put it off? The Rebbe actually told us that, and we had a private audience with the Rebbe at our marriage, and my mother-in-law was against, you know, again, we were young, just like yourself, and we you know, she said, what do you have to rush things? And the Rebbe said, if for a good thing, there's no reason to push it off.
Yeah,
so
excellent.
You know, that's the right attitude people have. If you're going to do it, just do it, you know, just get married already.
Yes, and it'll work out, and it did work out tonight, thank God, Baruch Hashem.
Well, what brought you now to Albany?
Right, so what happened was I ended up getting a job to work for the New York State Department of Public Service. And that's
how does that deal with chemical engineering? You said your degree was...
Right, so it wasn't necessarily chemical engineering that was important, but what was important was the idea of being good with numbers. You know, engineer, you know, was good with numbers, and also I was good with, you know, writing and verbal, you know, skills as well. So, you know, that all translated into a job with the state. I must tell you that I did, you know, get a bracha from the Rebbe to come here also. You know, you ask the Rebbe for a bracha. Is it good? And I remember Rabbi Groner, you know, called me up, you know, and said, you know, the Rebbe says, yeah, you got a bracha to go to Albany. So
that's excellent.
Yeah,
so what is typically your job? I mean, now you're retired after how many years?
Over 42 years. From
Had enough.
From February '81 to May of 2023. So that was over 42 years. Yes. So you know, so my job did consist of, you know, reviewing. I was in the Office of Telecommunications, and you know, they deal with the regulating mostly the landline telephone industry, but towards the end of my career is also we got more involved in broadband regulation as well. But you know, reviewing telecommunication company filings, making sure that they followed the rules of New York State.
You know, I think it's, again, just to emphasize to our audience, and I think that is an important point that, again, as you could see, but I introduced, you know, you're a Hasidic, ultra-Orthodox Jewish person, you keep going to the mitzvahs. I know we go to synagogue every day, but people say, well, again, you know, to be that Orthodox, I don't want to be a rabbi. So I guess that's why I say, just knowing your story, that's important. People could say, well, they could be Orthodox and doing A to Z or Aleph to Tav. You do everything, and going to temple and a synagogue and doing the mitzvahs and learning Torahs. You want to go to classes, and you could still have, quote unquote, a normal job with the state for so many years. And they never gave you a hard time in the state, or no, I mean, you have a beard or something, you know. Like
yes,
that.
Thank God they did not. They did not. I think
taking off for the holidays.
Right, I was able to take off for the holidays. Well, in Jewish and to keep Shabbos, you know, you have to adjust your schedule accordingly. but I think that was a good thing working with the state. But I must tell you, I think that working for the state is not it's not automatic that they're going to not give you a hard time. In other words, I had a bracha, I had a blessing that people they respected me, and by the way, I also not only kept the mitzvahs, for myself, able to keep kosher, keep holidays, keep that, but also to spread, the Judaism to my fellow Jewish employees. I did that. So.
Well, you've been around, like you say, for 40 years, but just following legislation, a lot of times people do have to sue different companies.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take off for Saturday and Jewish holidays, and it's been an upward battle. Like you say, it wasn't
right.
easy for a lot of people. That's what I was saying, a discrimination and
right.
against religious Jews. So, but there has been a lot of legislation to protect Sabbath observant people.
Right, and that is true. But no, you're right. It is protected by law to keep your religion and to make what we call reasonable accommodations for that, and it's in the law. But it's not a given that a given supervisor or management will necessarily do that. Some people might have to fight. I thank God didn't have to do that, and I was able to do what I had to do. And for instance, can I talk about Purim?
All right. Oh, so many holidays.
Right,
People talk about
Purim. Purim is coming up, and on Purim I would, make a Purim party, for maybe give an email invitation, and I would
in the office.
In the office, I would, we'd take a conference room and even do a video conference for any Jewish boys in New York City who might want to participate. And it's interesting, Purim, the happiest day one of the happiest days of the Jewish holiday of the Jewish calendar, and so I would go and I would bring my Purim costume.
Oh, we got a whole Purim celebration here now.
I put on my Purim costume. This is my king's crown. I have a cape too. We want to do that right here, but I'd go up in my costume, go on and we would have a hamantash and good treats. We would give out shalach manas Purim gifts to people and encourage people to swap them and give them to each other and give gifts to the poor. And I'd go up to even to the 20th floor of the executive floor, and it takes maybe a little guts to do that, but if you're doing a mitzvah, Hashem isn't going to harm, not harm you, and help you, and it opens doors. People would they'd smile. It's a happy day, and that's what I would do. It's that's one thing. That's
well, you say that. I mean, it's not that odd because you go. I mean, even I always say thank you to Bethlehem Library that we're using their studio, and it comes to Valentine's Day or that day, and the people now dress up. They're putting on some little kind of cutesy thing kind of thing. So I mean, the Jews could do it too. The Jewish people sometimes are, and I think that's an important for you that they're squeamish because I'm trying to emphasize that, like, oh, well, I got to have a beard, and I'm going to look religious, and, people know, I think they know they're Jewish anyway, but in any case, I don't have to stand out and just being outward in my Judaism. But again, you're a good example for everybody that, again, the way you look, you're ultimately Orthodox, and then even Purim, people say, well, all right, there's a Christmas party, and there's the Valentine's party, and people dress up, for things like that. They put on some things, but hey, you're Jewish, and you can be proud to be Jewish, and no one's going to say boo to you. They'll say, hey, they respect you, for celebrating your holiday too. Right,
exactly. And for Hanukkah, we'd have a Hanukkah menorah lighting, small, but sometimes even in the early years, we'd even bring one of the larger wooden menorahs and to light. And I remember one time there was I had reserved the conference room and lo and behold, I walked in. There's a group of directors, management. They're having a meeting, and I walked in. I said, "Oh, I had reserved the store." They said, "Oh, really? Okay, fine." They saw the menorah. I'd put the menorah in there before, the larger wooden menorah, and they said, "Okay." They moved. That was an exciting experience. That they moved for the light of Hanukkah viewing. They moved their meeting.
Again, just to underscore again, people are so inhibited of being Jewish people to show their Judaism, but again, as you're saying, which is fairly typical, is that people, on the contrary, will respect you. Not like, "Oh, what are you doing here with your Hanukkah? What are you bothering us?"
Right.
Hey, wow, you're celebrating Hanukkah, and most
Right.
people respect you. I don't know how many people, to myself, even this television show that people are watching, it will be on YouTube, but it goes on Bethlehem Cable,
Mm-hmm.
and people come over the street, "Oh, I watch you all the time." Again, to feel proud, and you don't have to worry that,
Right.
there's going to be more anti-Semitism. You talk about that, there was an issue with a lot of Jewish people. The Rebbe passed away 30 years ago, so obviously the story goes back 40, 50 years ago. We public menorahs, again, we put up the beautiful menorah right in the four corners, right in everybody's face. And we weren't the first, but Pittsburgh was the first, and it was the Jewish people who you're saying,
Yes.
well, they were scared, you're putting it in everybody's face, and it's going to call for anti-Semitism. And they even wrote to the Rebbe, so the Rebbe himself answered it and said there's no rhyme or reason for anti-Semitism. Sometimes they say, because the Jews are poor and they're mooches like in Europe. They own the banks, either you're rich or they're poor,
Yeah.
and there's no rhyme or reason for a word. And in Germany, the Jews were totally assimilated, not totally, but pretty much assimilated. And the worst anti-Semitism obviously came out of Germany, as we know. And even though the Jews were trying to be good German citizens without beards, without Yiddish, and looking like everybody else, and still, so you don't have any reason for it. But again, that the Rebbe was saying, people, and on the contrary, they'll respect you to keep your religion. If anything, he says, on the contrary, people who just water down their morals and ethics and what they believe in, that doesn't gain any respect ultimately.
That's right. When it comes to Yiddishkeit, you can do it, and Hashem will help you, and Hashem certainly helped me. The whole story of Purim, to the contrary, if you're in trouble, if there are challenges, you're always going to have challenges. What's going to help you? What will help you will be keeping Torah and mitzvahs. Do it, and then Hashem will help you. And
There's blessings that come along with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, now that you're finished with the state over here, you have any plans for the people talk about in Albany? I'm just saying that people should. There is an idea, and the Rebbe started saying it again so many years ago, but with the Rebbe's words are eternal. His ideas are always good, and that was just to have a call for. Because again, so many people are retired. It's not like, you're talking 100 years ago, the fiddler on the roof. Oh, I got my retirement and I got a pension being a milk schlepper. People know the fiddler on the roof. There's no such a thing. You work till you plot. And in America, so many people have pensions and retirement and Social Security, etc. But now you have time on your hands. And unfortunately, the world just says, you say it in Yiddish, "Übergespielt," you're played out, you're useless, you're not working. And the Rebbe says that's absolutely not a Torah value, because as long as you're alive, then you have something to accomplish. When Hashem doesn't think you have anything more, then you're gone. But if you're alive, you wake up in the morning, then there's something to be accomplished. And so he called for that, they called it Kol Levi Yitzchak after the Rebbe's father, but a learning institute for retirees. If you have time on your hands, and Torah is really the biggest mitzvah. Of course, the Rebbe also said with your expertise, your experience, and they actually have that nowadays where people have experience, and you tell a younger person, like, "Oh, what do you know? You can't even use a computer," or you're not as affluent with the computer as we are. But on the other hand, that they have experience, and there's nothing it says in the Gemara. there's no there's no chacham, there's no sage as a bal nisayon, as a person who went through the test literally, but in other means experience. So learning Torah, helping other people, the Rebbe says that's very, very useful. So again, I put it as a commercial that maybe Albany should, try to have some learning for the retiree. More and more people are retired and have time on their hands.
They are, sorry, yeah, and I am also, but when people do see you, they say, Rabbi, and I did have that one, and as I said earlier that I didn't have really formal, a lot of formal Jewish education, in higher education, but now they do have, nowadays they have online learning and online smicha, online rabbinical certification, so people have done that before me, and I'm involved with that now. So maybe,
really, I know a few people that have gone on, and it's not a Mickey Mouse. They tell me it's really a lot of learning, and the Rebbe always said that person should have smicha. Now you can always say when the Rebbe says something, there's always many angles and always good things. One, the knowledge is always good to know, because really rabbinical ordinations, many laws are about kosher. So everybody has to know about kosher. Everybody eats. Everybody has a kitchen. So you have to know about kosher. So it's very practical on one hand. But I always took it as just feeling good about yourself. Like, I'm a rabbi. How could I do something wrong? Because I'm a rabbi. It builds you up in your stature. Like we said, on one hand, people are, too humble, who am I and what am I, and I'm not that influential, which is absolutely not the truth, because every person has influence, their neighbors, their friends, their family, and people have to feel good about themselves. That's a very important idea. I think, be giving, especially youth, you deal with youth, a lot of kids, just to feel, who am I, and there's 8 billion people on the world, and I'm not going to be in the Olympics, and I'm not going to be in the NBA, so what am I? And just a regular, same old person. And that's surely not the right attitude. That, hey, you're a rabbi, you learned, and you have something to offer. You're a rabbi, like we always say, means a teacher. Yes. You have something to offer other people. And, it's known, psychologists know it, but Torah always said it first, that, the Rebbe once said it, if you know an aleph and a beis, you should teach someone an aleph. So then again, the more you learn, or sometimes people need goals. The Rebbe many times, there's many things in Lubavitch. There is Daf Yomi, which is in Lubavitch, learning a blot, a Gemara there. Well, why? Okay, you can open up a Gemara, you don't need their system. That's right. But it was not really, and people think it's that old, it's really from 1920, that it's really not, it's just about 100 years old. But he just felt that nowadays, maybe because of the secular education, it's the Wizard of Oz. Well, if you have a certificate, now you're intelligent, so that's what people who grew up and did. Well, you took a test. Now you know something because you passed the grade and you have SATs. And then now you're intelligent. And so that's the way people's minds goes. Maybe that's the way that he just saw that all right, a page a day, that's your assignment for the day. And that's what people, wasn't just, let's learn. Here's a book, you have a mind, you're inquisitive, learn. Well, it's not enough nowadays. It is enough to do that, but how many people, here's a goal, here's a page a day, and it's only 100 years old. But the Rebbe then even, there was always in Lubavitch, learn a little Chumash every day, learn a little Tanya, the basic word of Chabad Hasidus every day. Right. And just that I think, putting out goals for people, learning the Maimonides the Rebbe put out every day. You can open up a Rambam, you don't need, the Rebbe could say, learn Rambam, okay, I'll learn Maimonides. But, here's the structure. 3 chapters a day, 1 chapter a day. So those, just the way, I guess, I always took it as, of course it's important, again, like I said, when the Rebbe says something for deeper reasons. On the other hand, it's just simply, people are learned in secular studies just about how to have goals. This is your assignment for this semester, this is what you should learn. Oh, you did the assignment. Oh, now you got an A. Now you're intelligent. You
Yeah,
know,
I think it's great. I think it's, you know, I'm going to try and, you know,
Yeah, you
there's
go
more-
to
there's more-
the
there's more-
grind tone, back to the
right
learning.
now there's more time to learn, so we do want more time to learning. I am keeping up with my former, you know, colleagues, you know, but you know, in the Jewish, you know, go back occasionally, you know, for holidays and try and, you know, keep helping them and helping my fellow Jew and, you know, the world at large. You know, I mean, I think Judaism. You said, I think yourself. You know, the Rebbe said, who are we? You know, we have power. We can do it. You know,
All right, we're closing up in a minute, and I just want to thank Ruvain because, you know, sometimes they say it's not only what you said for the last half hour on our show, but just to show up. You know, I say that to a lot of our guests. You know, here's an Orthodox Jew who worked for the state, and, you know, if anybody's even thinking like, well, you know, how can I do that? That would be impossible for me to do over here. So I think that's an
Right.
important point over
yes,
here.
it is possible, and we can do it. And well, we wish everybody happy Purim. You know, everybody, and I thank you, Rabbi Simon, and maybe
Only
maybe
good
we'll do this
things.
again.
A long life, good health, and a
Amen.
lot of Torah in your life. A
Amen.
lot of
Thank
things
you
to
so
do.
much.